And welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast. After an unintentional week off, we'll get to that in just a second after we do some quick admin work. So, the name of the episode is Prepper Movie Review. The patrons are not the ones that inspired this, actually, even though they inspire a lot of our content and a lot of they throw a lot of questions at us. This one is actually something that I think, I'm not sure if it was my idea or Nick's idea, but it's been rolling around for a while.
I think it came up in the after show, actually, with Rebel.
I want to say it was around even longer than that.
It might have been. We've talked about it on and off.
We've talked about doing it for a while. I mean, we kind of leaned into it a little bit when we talked about Civil War, and then the banhammer got beat on top of our head multiple times in that.
Oh yeah, they apparently really didn't like us showing clips from that. Oh well.
Yeah, fair use. What fair use? But anyway, but the patrons do usually have an inside road to dropping topics on us. So if you'd like to become a patron, you can follow the link in the show description. Start at $1 a month. Contribute as much as you feel the urge to, or as much you can slide by your spouse, whichever comes first. If you'd like merch, you can support us and support a small business. That link is also in the show description. I cannot fit into any of the shirts that I have from them for reasons I'll get into in just a minute. It's a little embarrassing, but for y'all, I'll bear my heart and soul and take y'all's abuse because I deserve it. Cypress Survivalist, the link is in the show description. Our first annual camping trip is coming up in November. If you'd like to come and hang out in the woods with a dork who's going to run around in the night with night vision and probably talk on radios to weird people, if that sounds like your bucket of fun and going on some hiking trips and just sitting around a campfire getting to know a couple of cool families, then you should follow that link in the show description. Come out and see us. Southeast Louisiana will be at Bogo State Park. So I'm not going to say you shouldn't drive multiple hours to come and see us, but, I'm certainly not worth a 500-mile drive. I don't think. Unless you're a sociopath. Then there might be that.
We had fun at summer camp.
We did have fun at summer camp, but y'all are all certifiable nutcases, so there's that.
True.
And since Nick has told me I need to do capitalism better, code MOF at Disaster Coffee, it actually doesn't give me a kickback. I am a part owner in the company in the name of full disclosure. Me and the other two owners don't take money off the top or off the bottom or out of the middle to support our PMAG habit. It is purely a discount code to save you 5% on your purchase so you can get some really good coffee at a little bit of a discount. We really should talk coffee one time. I mean, I could talk about coffee for an hour, but everybody else will tune out inside of 20 minutes.
Coffee is good. I'm one of those people that I like my coffee pre-ground so I can just dump it in the whatever pot I happen to have.
Nick.
Man, I grew up blue collar. Anything other than Folgers is a step up here.
I see. I also grew up blue collar and drinking red can Folgers like a heathen, but I've elevated my taste and I am determined to pollute your poor little mind with my coffee nerd autism.
You eventually will succeed because I do enjoy a good cup of coffee. My God, man, at 4:30 in the morning, you're lucky I get the count of scoops right and I hit the right button on the pot.
That's why I set my coffee pod has a timer feature and I set it at night the night before so that as I'm putting on my pants in the morning, I hear bing, and then the gurgling noise.
That might be worth having.
That is always worth happening. But anyway.
I've got just the Mr. Coffee that you click it on, and it stays on for like 3 hours.
I mean, that works too.
It does. I mean.
Then again, I also have a full espresso bar in my house.
You do. You might like coffee more than I do.
I don't know where the line is between I like and I'm addicted, but I'm definitely flirting with it.
Look, you can stop whenever you want. You just don't want to stop.
No, I can't stop. If I stop drinking coffee, bad things start happening. Oh, okay. Couple of comments. I need a poster of What Would Bert Do? We actually have that shirt at the Southern Gals. It's a hilarious shirt, but I can't fit into mine anymore, which we'll
You could just staple it to your wall like it is a poster.
I mean, yeah, but I'm hoping to get back down to the size I can wear it again.
No, I'm talking about who was that? Who said that?
Jeff Jag.
Jeff? I'm saying for Jeff, just order the shirt, staple it to your wall. Or hang it. like you're not a heathen. I don't know.
Raggle agrees with me. Folgers is ugh.
Yeah, I largely drink better coffee than Folgers now, but work supplies free Folgers, and free coffee is better than no coffee. So
I'll allow that one. I'll allow that one. But anyway, so first of all, where were we lazy slackers last week? So a week ago Wednesday, I was pulling up into my house in the afternoon after I got off of work, and AT&T was like all up and down my street, drilling holes in the ground and laying fiber optic lines. And I was kind of excited because the opportunity to upgrade from copper to fiber and increase my download speeds from anywhere from 6 to 10 times for the same money is a happy meal waiting to happen. And then I walk into the front door and my daughter tells me, hey, the internet's out.
Good.
Because those same expedient gentlemen that were drilling holes in my lawn to put in fiber apparently drilled a hole directly through my copper line. Despite the fact that AT&T themselves, the utility company, and Jesus have been all over this neighborhood spray paint lines in everybody's grass for weeks to get ready for this. And these jamokes still managed to freaking punch a hole through my copper lines. So,
well, Phil, have you ever tried to locate lines with one of those little beepers?
No, can't say I have.
It is not a science. It is definitely a bit of an art. It's kind of like metal detecting, where you're listening to the sound and you're doing your best.
Well, that which it might be. The gentlemen that were laying the fiber optic line didn't seem too troubled by the fact that they hit their own line.
Oh God, no! That's not their fault. That's the locator's fault.
It's not their problem either. So I had to put in the trouble ticket. My internet got restored Friday late afternoon, evening, and quite frankly, between your schedule and my schedule, we just didn't have a good opportunity. Like,
it was a busy weekend.
Yeah, usually on the weekend, like, we can free up and make some things happen. But last weekend was just like, you were jammed, I was jammed. It wasn't happening.
My grandma, she starts putting up Christmas decorations about this time of year every year. And there were 8 people hauling up Christmas trees on Sunday. It took all morning.
Yeah.
That was mostly just the trees.
Yes, Fraggle. I had some choice words, but the really frustrating part is, like,
you still don't have faster internet.
But hear me out. I have this freaking enormous uninterruptible power supply right here underneath the desk, specifically sized so that if the power goes out, I can run the router and this friggin' desktop and these lights. I can run all this stuff and keep a show going for about an hour and 10 minutes.
Nice.
On battery power before the stream dies. And I did that because once or twice we lost power in the middle of a stream and I had to hear it from freaking Stewart for weeks afterwards about why I didn't have a UPS. So I got that. And then my ISP dies. And I'm just like, I can't win. I fix a problem, and then a new problem presents itself.
Yeah. Raggle does raise a good point. Christmas decor before Thanksgiving is questionable. Before Halloween is forbidden. Not for my grandma. At one point, there was over 100 lit trees in her house.
Oh my.
Yeah. It takes, quite literally, it will take from now until Thanksgiving for her to finish her Christmas decorations. And then she starts giving tours to people. So it needs to start sooner because the first Christmas tour is the week after Thanksgiving.
Oh my. So
it's a bit extra, but it's awesome.
It sounds amazing. So I don't have a banner for this, but the reason I cannot fit into any of the Southern Gal shirts anymore is because since I've started going back to the office in person and I'm no longer working from home, I have completely shirked my moderate attempts at maintaining my girlish figure. Completely stopped walking in the afternoons, just was still keeping in my diet because I have to do that to keep my hypoglycemia under control. But Captain Thickums over here put on some pounds. And when I got on the scale this past weekend, it said 260. I was a little bit ashamed of myself. So
We've all
I've
been there, man.
walked. I've walked every day since Monday.
Good.
am going to continue to kick my big chunky butt every day until that scale says something I'm happier with, preferably under 240 pounds. I mean, honestly, if I get back down to like 220, 230, I'm really in a good range where I feel like I'm in a better position and I'm just in better shape. But I did tell my wife, I'm like, I have some goals and they have nothing to do with the scale.
Yeah.
You might have heard years ago, like Andrew was going to come to town and Tommy was going to come to town, and we were going to hike this thing called the Tammany Trace down here.
Yes, I do remember that. Yep.
So at the time, it was 34, 35 miles. It's been added on to since then. Now it's 40 plus miles.
That's a good 4 or 5 day hike. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though. You can do it faster than that because it's dead flat. It's paved.
Oh, okay.
It's a walking trail. It's not like hiking over the woods and up and down in elevation. So it's a walking trail. Yeah. So what I had originally
2 ass kicking days.
Oh yeah. But what we had planned on doing was we were going to start in Slidell, which is like 20 miles east of here.
Sure.
And we were going to hike in this direction, stop at Fountainblue State Park, which is not too far from my house.
Yeah.
And we were going to, rent a tent site for the night, turn in there. We were going to hike in with our water, our food, our tents, and just like rough it out in one-man tents.
Nice.
And then the next day, pick it up, pack it up, have breakfast, get back on the road. And we were going to 2-day hike the trace and stay overnight. Sure. Full blown, like call it a practice bug out if you want. But it was something we had all wanted to do together. And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And that kind of screwed up. They were talking about shutting down flights. Tommy basically got put on high alert for months after that. He couldn't break away. And Andrew was nervous about coming down because they were talking about canceling airline flights. So he's like, if I fly in, I may not be able to get home.
It's a long way to get home in a rental car.
Well, and especially
even if you can't get one. I mean, there were buying gas got difficult there for a couple of days.
Well, and I mean, especially in like that first 3-4 weeks, which is when we were talking about doing this. I mean, things were a little cuckoo.
They were, and there were a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, but that's my goal. I want to hike the Tammany Trace.
Nice.
I want to 2-day rough it out, stay in Fountainblue State Park, bust it out. I'll do it by myself at this point if I have to. But that is a goal I've set for myself to get back into the shape to be able to haul a 35-pound pack and walk it out about 40 miles in 2 days.
Nice.
It's going to be a butt-kicking trip for a 43-year-old guy.
It's a butt-kicking trip for anybody. 20 miles in a day is a long way. Yeah. But it can be done. I mean, 4 miles per hour, Well,
I mean, even at 3 miles per hour, you're still talking about 6 to 7 hours of walking.
Yeah.
Budget 2 hours for, like bathroom breaks and stopping to eat and hydrate and everything. And maybe change your socks halfway on the trip. But I mean, that you can do that during daylight hours. We're not talking about a crazy insurmountable thing. You just need to get your butt in gear and you need to go.
Yeah.
And it's something that I know I can do once I get myself back into the shape to be able to do it.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, you think about it this way, if you got yourself back down into say what you're like 260 now, if you can get yourself back down into like the 230s, there's your pack weight right there.
Yeah. I know from experience though, like my body is really at its happiest right about 220.
Okay.
I can get lower than that. But then we're talking about 6 days a week of some pretty extraneous exercise
or massively different dietary intake.
Yeah. And at this point, like I've always been the person that said like, when it comes to losing weight or getting in shape, the juice has to be worth the squeeze to me. Because I have no want or need to be a bodybuilder. I have no want or need to get back down to college weight. I just don't care. To me, when I'm not able to do the things I want to do, I need to make a change.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair.
I want to get back to the weight and the size and the conditioning, leg strength, cardio, and everything else that I can do these long hikes. And I know I can do it, but it ain't going to happen at 260.
No, probably not. I mean, could you? Yes, it's going to put unnecessary wear and tear on your joints.
Yeah.
You know,
Consider I already have, a blown knee, a blown hip, bad
I'm
back,
sure that's not service related.
separated shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Multiple problems.
getting into shape will help all of that because it just takes the strain down considerably.
Yeah. So call that, bearing my soul hour or 15, 10 minutes. I have completely let myself go. And in the name of being a grown up and admitting I screwed up, I admit it. I let myself go. And it's, I told my wife, I'm like, it's a little frustrating for me because, like, given the type of lifestyle we espouse, I'm not living up to it. And I have to own that.
Here's the thing though. We all have to live in the modern society that we live in. And your job requires you to be in the office and commuting like 2 hours a day. So if you put in an 8-hour day, you're putting in a 10-hour day.
Not just that, but and actually I'm putting in a 9-hour day because I work 9-hour days.
Okay. So
of those
you're
9
putting
hours,
in 11 hours.
And of those 9 hours, I'm spending conservatively 7 to 7.5 of them sitting in front of a computer banging keys.
That's
that's
a hell of a thing to overcome. I mean, realistically, the difference between being up and moving around 7 hours a day and being sedentary 7 hours a day is like 700 or 800 calories.
Yeah. But that's why, I'm coming home and just as soon as Mrs. Matter of Fact is willing to hop up and, throw on her shorts, come for a walk with me, we go.
Yeah.
And like the last 2 days,
it's good for both of you.
Like yesterday and today, actually, she came home kind of feeling under the weather, not feeling great. And I told her, I'm like, babe, that's fine. You stay here. I have to go. Yep. And I went for my walk because it's one of those things where it's like, we both need the exercise.
True.
But if she's in a position where she can't, I need to. I have to.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because it'll keep you both in the habit.
Yeah.
Like if you got a week where you're sick, you're sick. But if one of you is still doing it, then once you're not sick, you're like, okay, I'm going to come with.
Yeah. Mountain Survival 1 just
awesome.
Dropped from 260 to 200. I'm going to tell you, bud, like I can remember the last time I got to this weight, it was during COVID. And it was the same problem. I went from like, a 1.5 mile walk just to get from where I parked in the parking lot to my desk. So I was walking 3 miles a day, literally just to get from my truck to my desk.
Nice.
And that's on top of like, walking around the building and everything else. Cause that was just the way the building was laid out is if you had to go to different apartments, it was a long, skinny building. So you were walking back and forth all day long and going up and down stairs.
Nice.
And then when we started working from home, my commute was from my bedroom to here.
That's a massive reduction in movement.
Yeah. And it culminated in me swelling up from like 225 pre-COVID to 262. And there's a very notorious picture on social media of me that one of our friends inadvertently captured. She took a picture dead on from my profile, and I look like,
doesn't it?
I look like I was 6 months pregnant. Like it was alarming how big I had gotten, and I knew I was getting bigger, and I knew I didn't feel good. My joint pain got really bad. My back pain got awful. I didn't feel good. That was the first year I slept like in my one-man tent on the ground, and I could not get comfortable because I was so heavy.
Yeah,
sleeping on the ground was painful. I came home and me and Gillian just like hit it hard, worked our butts back into shape. 6 months later, I was down in the low 230s. I felt tons better.
Oh, I bet.
And then I just let it get out from underneath me again. So,
yeah, you got to keep up the habits. You got to keep moving. And if you can't keep moving, you really got to watch what you eat because it is very hard to out exercise your fork.
Yeah.
Because you can eat a full day's worth of calories in a single meal if you are not paying attention. It's not difficult.
It's really not.
No.
Anyway, 20 minutes in, we've literally talked about nothing but my fat ass.
Hey, health is important, man. You have nothing else if you don't have good health.
This is true. But we came here to talk about came here to do a prepper movie review, and this is probably not the best title for this. Like maybe prepper movie night or something. I don't know. We might only do one of these, and everybody hate it. We never do it again. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yes, but if me and Phil like it, you're going to have to suffer. Just like everything else.
That might be a thing. But anyway, so the rules of engagement. Nic and I each threw a handful of movies into the pod. And the idea here is that like these are movies that don't necessarily have to be preparedness related, but it's movies that we felt like there's prepper lessons or takeaways from.
Absolutely.
And of course, the very first one that I'm going to throw up here is like, probably the ultimate SHTF movie of all time. It's Mad Max. Absolutely. I really shouldn't have to introduce this, but I guess we have to, just for that one person who had an awful childhood and didn't get exposed to great cinema. Yeah. So the idea is that this takes place in Australia post ecological calamity. If I remember right, wasn't the impetus for this something like oil? It was like big oil finally ran out.
It was I've heard different fan theories, from global thermonuclear war to post peak oil, and that's why
peak oil I think was the one that always made the most sense.
Post peak oil economic collapse, I've heard, but
the idea here is that like this is a fairly loose storyline of like a buddy cop film, which is Max Rokitansky played by oh Jesus, Mel Gibson. Very, very young Mel Gibson, by the way.
Oh, very young Mel Gibson.
I don't think this was like the first movie, but this was definitely his breakout role.
It's definitely one of the ones that made him a star for sure.
Yeah. But you have him as a gentleman on the local police force and several friends of his. And you start to get the impression fairly quickly that this is not a normal police force. Like these guys wear black leather and drive, fast cars and motorcycles. And they're kind of Old Testament in the way they deal with people that are misbehaving.
I believe they call that immediate justice, Phil.
Yes. But to their credit, like some of the movie scenes, for those of you who are watching the stream, these gangs that are represented in this film are literally like running up and down the neighborhood, terrorizing the countryside with almost complete impunity,
pulling people out of cars, killing people on the regular,
killing them.
Yeah. Almost doing like shakedown robberies of various things.
Yeah. But the reason I started with this was because we've all heard multiple theories about like what a collapse looks like. And I've always kind of stuck to the idea that collapses are going to happen in slow motion. Like there's a point at which things are definitely bad, but there's still police and there's still courtrooms and there's still law, even though it's not being effectively enforced. So you can't just go full blown Mad Max and start whacking people left, right, and center, because sooner or later someone in a polyester uniform is going to show up with an attitude problem. And you have to deal with that.
Maybe rightly so.
But the point is, you also have this situation where like the main character's wife and kid get killed by this gang.
Yep.
Which sends him completely over the edge, and he becomes Mad Max.
Yeah, his wife and kid were explicitly targeted because of the death of Tail Cutter, the guy in the
Toe Cutter. I thought it was.
Could have been.
No. Whoa.
Knight Rider is the guy that kills his family. Tail Cutter is the guy in the car with his floozy.
I think you're the other way around. That's Knight Rider in that bottom picture right there.
I am fairly certain.
We are going to have an argument.
Because he says the Knight Rider, he knows who I am. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Knight Rider is the guy with the massive hair. Unless I'm remembering horribly, and I need to rewatch this entire movie series and force my wife to watch it too.
Quite frankly, you do need to watch the whole thing again.
I do.
Toe Cutter is the leader of the motorcycle gang.
Oh, damn, I am wrong. All right, you heard that, hon. We have to rewatch the entire Mad Max series starting tomorrow.
I'm not apologizing.
Nope.
Yes, Crawford, the Knight Rider Montezano, a member of Toe Cutter's gang. So So yeah, Max winds up whacking the Night Rider. Toe Cutter gets a little pissy about it, and they end up targeting his family. And after they do that, Max goes mad. Says screw the badge, steals the pursuit special, the MFP supercharged VA powered car, and then proceeds to just go and dispense justice as you do.
Yes. Yeah. So the interesting thing about this is you do have. My wife says she is requesting an apology from you officially.
Rachel, I'm doing this out of love.
It needs to happen. I was wrong about a movie quote. It has to happen.
But you can hold this over his head and extract favors from him later.
That's true. That's true. Blackmail is acceptable in relationships.
Is it even called blackmail? Or is it just called relationship negotiations?
It could be either one. Depends on how it's applied, I guess. But the thing about this movie that really illustrates your point, Phil, of collapses happening slowly and then all at once, is that this Max and his family, they go on vacation after this death of Night Rider happens. They go on a family vacation to the beach. Yeah, and the problems from him being a law enforcement officer follow them.
And actually what precipitated it wasn't just the death of Night Rider, it was the death of his partner Goose.
It was. That
he watched literally burn alive in a wreck. But yeah, I mean, and you know, not that I'm drawing direct comparisons, but like given that Portland has pictures of conservative influencers and ICE agents hung up on poles around the city, that's not that outlandish of a scenario.
I mean, there are people that are putting hit requests out on federal law enforcement. I believe the latest was $50,000 from a drug cartel in Mexico. I mean, that's a very elaborate and expensive way to commit suicide, but fine. I suppose that's your choice.
Yeah. But anyway, the reason this slide says Mad Max and the Road Warrior is because to me, I don't see these really as two separate movies or direct sequels. To me, this is endemic of exactly what you said a minute ago, is that collapses happen in slow motion and then all of a sudden. So in the early stages of collapse, we have some moderate semblance of law enforcement still taking place, some semblance of society where you could still ostensibly go take a vacation with your wife and kid. There's still gas stations, but there's also this very, you want to call it random crime, but it's not really random. It's just
pseudo-organized crime.
Yeah. And
small scale organized crime.
And then we eventually get to this point in the Road Warrior where there is no law, there is no order, there are no nations, there is no government, and you are at the point of, like, you know, Lord Humongous and the combat boots and the spiked loincloth and the hockey mask. And Max is still being Max, but you have in the vacuum caused by the recession of that power being government and law enforcement, what you wind up with is warlords and gangs.
Yep. Local power.
Yes.
Enforced basically at the point of direct violence instead of implied violence that we have from the power of the state now.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, you also get like the little community that was that Max winds up buddying up with that is like trying to have some kind of peace and order, and they're trying to, you know, stave off the gang that's being aggressive towards them. But I'm going to tell you that groups like that are going to be the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. You know, cartelification, says Jeff. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know so much that they are going to be the exception in the near term. Does that make sense? Because you're gonna have
near term. I agree with that.
The vast majority of people do not find random violence acceptable. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
So just generally speaking, if you were to grab any random individual off the street, they're not likely to be in favor of random violence, which means that the majority of people are not going to be committing random violence as soon.
But Point of order.
Yeah.
At the risk of sounding like an ass, I would also counter with the people that are not willing to use violence are likely to have it used against them.
Oh, they absolutely are. Yeah.
And then there are not going to be as many people not willing to use violence because they're all going to be rolled.
That's the thing. Is the farther you go, the longer like tribal conflicts, cartel conflicts, local warlord conflicts go, the closer and closer you get to something like a modern day Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Where your family, your clan, your tribe is what you owe allegiance to, and justice is usually immediate or retributive. So somebody harmed your family, so you go harm them, which causes them to harm you, which causes blood feuds. You know, these things can evolve. Now, whoa, Phil, are you familiar with the fan theory behind Mad Max?
I'm a gigantic nerd, so I'm familiar with a number of the theories, but what you got?
So there's a fan theory behind all of the Mad Max movies that the Mad Max movies that we see are a campfire retelling of something that happened very long ago. And the people post this collapse are telling this story of Mad Max to their children, hence the sensationalized violence of it.
So, I mean, that's not as much as outlandish as it might immediately seem when you consider Beyond Thunderdome, which I have to say is my least favorite Mad Max movie.
Oh, it's a great movie too. It's wildly over the top, which is why it's good.
There's so much of it that's so good, and yet something about it just like irks me, and I can never explain why it is my least favorite by far. But the very end of it, where like, you know, the little group of kids that are grown up in the Oasis, like are as that movie fades out and they're telling the story of Mad Max to the next generation, that lends a lot of credence to that theory that this is basically a modern day myth.
Yep. And I think that when you look at the movie through that light, Lord Humongous makes a lot more sense.
Oh God, yes. Especially when you like do the digging into your Lord Humongous and you see like the suggestions that like he's a former military officer or something.
Yep.
I'm gonna tell you that in this situation, the fact that like the two big forces in this movie are more than likely a former military officer and a former police officer.
Yeah.
Two men
coming into conflict.
Two men, both very accustomed to using violence to impose their will on others, both very comfortable with contest of physicality, and very capable of like leading other groups to their cause. Makes perfect sense.
It does.
Raggle Fraggle. You should see Furiosa if you want to hate a movie in the franchise. I haven't seen Furiosa.
I have.
I
enjoyed it.
I watched the more recent Mad Max film with, what was it called? Fury Road. Tom Hardy in it.
Fury Road and Furiosa. They're continuations of each other.
Yeah. Fury Road, I wasn't upset by. I thought it was pretty decent, actually.
If you look at it from the perspective of people telling a sensationalized story of something that happened in universe,
yes.
Looking back,
very
Furiosa and Fury Road makes sense.
I don't know. Furiosa, I don't feel the want to go and see because.
Do you like the spectacular vehicle fight scenes with everything exploding?
It depends.
I mean, there's a bunch of cars exploding and flipping over.
It depends, though. Like part of what attracts me so much to Mad Max and the Road Warrior and even Mad Max Fury Road is the fact that they stuck so much to practical effects and steered away from CGI.
I'm not sure how much was CGI and how much was practical effects in Furiosa. That's the one downside of that movie is I can't see all of that being practical effects as much.
The simple fact that George Miller demanded that the Doofmobile be created, so they had like the dude, playing the guitar on the back of the speaker mobile and everything with the flames coming out of the top.
Had to be real.
The fact that he told the special effects department, "Thou shalt build it. I want a Doofmobile."
Yes.
That right there is all the reason you need to go to like worship at the altar of George Miller. The man gets it.
Oh, he does. He does. That's what sold the franchise in the early movies. But you know, the interesting thing you do start to see the further you go into the Mad Max series is the weapons change. The weapons change dramatically. You don't see the reliable ammunition that you saw in the earlier movies. The vehicles are less reliable. There's more of you see more of like the wrench monkeys and the chrome boys that are having to work on these vehicles while they're driving, which probably unrealistic, but the fact that these things are breaking down all the time.
But the lack of reliability, the fact that things are kind of hodgepodge together, hacked together, that makes a certain amount of sense.
Oh, it absolutely does.
And also the fact that, like, you know, early in the series of Mad Max, the impetus for the violence seems to largely just be people are bored and looking for a good time. But by the time you get to the Road Warrior, like, this has devolved into a full blown like fight for survival over resources. Like everything is about
war,
gas, food, and water, and nothing. Everything else comes second to those three things:
gas, food, water, and power. Power over others. So Lord Humongous is attempting to maintain his group, his tribe of individuals he's gathered around him by taking the gas to provide for those people to maintain his power base.
Yes, that's fair. I was just thinking in terms of like resources being sought, but you're right, power could be considered that.
Oh, power is absolutely a resource. If you cannot maintain control over whatever tribe you have gathered around yourself as a leader, man, your ability to maintain the situation that you have around yourself, whether that's safety, stability, the food, the other resources you have, then you're shit out of luck because people are going to start breaking away or finding a new leader.
You wind up getting replaced.
You do. So
on to Tremors. Now, there is one and only one reason why I put Tremors in here. And it's
the Rec Room. Yeah, the Rec Room.
Well, okay, so being cheeky, yes, the Rec Room. Like, everyone needs a Rec Room and a cute wife that knows how to shoot guns. I get it. I totally understand. And Burt Gummer is like a personal hero of mine.
I mean, also, just look at that mustache.
Oh, that mustache.
It's just glorious.
I don't know. I've asked my wife a couple of times, like, hey, like if I got rid of all this and just kept this, would that be acceptable? And she has hard no that every time so far, but I'm just going to keep wearing her down. But
eventually she could just come home to it existing, and then you have the authority of the mustache.
Sorry, Raggle. My wife's a brunette.
Yeah, I like
I already have the cute wife who knows how to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually not just Burt Gummer and the Rec Room full of guns that makes me throw this in here. It's the fact that, like, this is the guy that had the bug out vehicle, had the radios, had the food, the water, had the gear, had the guns, had the ammo. Like, Burt Gummer is...
He's your atypical Y2K survivalist.
Yeah.
From back in the day.
But Burt Gummer, yeah, and very much like kind of an artifact of the time.
Absolutely.
Because at the time, you know what? Now, for those of you who are younger than I am, I'm 43. I was born 1982. Like, I don't think most of y'all who are younger millennials and Gen Z truly appreciate just how genuinely alarming Y2K was for people who were like adults, especially people who were in the tech world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there were so many systems that had never been programmed to have a 2-digit year field go 00.
Mm-hmm.
And people genuinely were alarmed about what was going to happen. You know, like what
my uncle was working in the tech field for Motorola at the time, and Motorola was exceedingly concerned because they knew all of their stuff would break if it was not fixed. Now, granted, they knew this years in advance and were fixing it years in advance, but who knows if you caught all the bugs?
Yeah, and that's the thing of it. I mean, like, especially bearing in mind that we're talking about like 1999.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
tech literacy was there, but it was not as widespread as it is now.
Well, and I guess kind of where I'm coming from is this. Like, okay, in 1982, I was born. I was about 5 years old when I remember playing with computers for the first time. It was an old
Mhm.
Commodore 64. That would have been about
Nice.
1987.
Yeah, probably.
Uh, my parents and my dad and I built my first IBM compatible. It was it a 386?
Nice.
I remember, well, okay, so I remember having a 386 that ran Windows 3.1. But
Okay.
before that, I think I had an 8086 because we couldn't run anything but GeoWorks and Lotus 123 on it. So that was probably an 8086 that we built at that point. But in
Mhm.
any case, I've been my personal computer background goes back to my childhood. But I cannot explain to the generation that grew up with freaking iPhones in their pockets how much more primitive computers were at that time and how new computers were in the market in 1999.
Yep.
So it's not like we were running around with like, stone tablets and like, stone tablets and abacuses, but like computers were not as mature as they are now. And there were a ton of very old systems running DOS and running mainframe doing really important stuff like for telephone companies and power companies and utility companies back then. And the whole of society was very alarmed about what happens when it goes from 99 to 0.
Mhm. Because for
So,
the entire history of computers, that's not been a thing. It's
yeah.
been 2-digit year codes the entire time.
Yeah, and there's no reason not to do that because,
Well, for efficiency's sake, that's 2 bits you don't have to store.
well, yeah, and you have to you have to consider the fact that like computing power was at such a premium back. Okay, like
Mhm.
the iPhone. Nick, do you have a smartwatch by any chance, or you just
No,
run like
I just run a smartphone. I can't have watches at work. The
fair?
electromagnets destroy them, and it could cause me to have my arm torn off.
Okay, but the smartphone in your pocket has more computing
It
power than the
does.
entire NASA agency did when we sent stuff into space in the 60s.
Correct.
So, like, I don't know how to explain to people who've grown up outside of that time period that, like, computing power and computing storage was at such a premium. The decision to make year codes only have 2 digits was a
It mattered.
huge deal because it wasn't just that it saved 2 bits somewhere in a code, but every time you had to reference it,
Mhm.
it was only referencing 2 digits
Well,
instead of three or
think of it
four or
from
however many.
think of it from this perspective. An insurance agency has to store every single covered individual's birth date. And that's just day, month, year, whatever order you do it. So you've dropped 2 pieces of information off of a, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're storing 6 digits instead of 8 on
Mhm.
millions of people's data.
And every time
At
you
a,
have to reference them or you have to
mhm.
run like a database query and you only have to reference 6 digits instead of 8, it adds up.
Mhm. It adds up massively, especially when you're
Or
talking about on the scale of hundreds of thousands or millions of queries.
yeah, and if it's something like from the world I'm familiar with, like an insurance billing system,
Mhm.
that means you have to run a process every month to execute billing.
Mhm.
And if a year code has 4 digits instead of 2, it takes longer to get through that billing cycle with hundreds of thousands of enrollees.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you for that autistic rant.
Yeah, that's why
Um,
you brought up the movie Tremors, man. He is a creature of the times. I mean, just look at that outfit.
Raggle Fraggle. My one question for Bert would be, what is your long-term sustainability plan? Because never forget, you're in the middle of an effing desert.
So that's the thing about survivalists back in the day. Long-term sustainability plans weren't as much of a thing in the mindset of the time.
Yeah, I mean, you were really more concerned with like immediate response to a sudden upheaval
Mhm.
or a sudden outbreak of violence. Although I would
Which
argue
there
that,
were a lot of in the 90s in various places.
yeah, well, I mean, especially when you consider like the peak for violent crime in recent history has been like the 1980s.
Yep.
So early 80s, late 70s in that range. So yeah, I mean, we comparatively live in very safe times now. So the concern that Y2K would shut down the power grid and people would just go berserk wasn't that far out of pocket at the time.
Okay, I do have to push back on that in just one thing, Phil. You say
You're
we live in
wrong.
comparatively safer times now.
Uh,
Do you know why?
because major metro areas underreport their crime statistics.
Cell phones. What's the biggest reason why murder rates have gone down nationwide? You are a phone call away from 911.
Uh,
It used to be you had to run to the neighbor's house, a payphone, find a payphone, or find someone that would be able to call for you. Now, if I am in a restaurant and I see a carjacking across the street where someone gets assaulted, I go boop boop boop, green button from my seat in the restaurant or on the side of a hiking trail or wherever you happen to be. Chances are, if there's another person around, they've got their little addiction box in their pocket.
although, for the sake of argument, back in that time when there were no cell phones, people were able to actually walk and run because they weren't such pudgy, out of shape bastards from
True,
staring at TikTok 18 hours a
true.
day.
But the if you look at say violent crime versus assault versus attempted murder versus murder, there's not as big of a difference as they advocate that there is. Between the faster response of 911 and EMS services due to cell phones and getting called sooner, yes, you have less people dying, but medical tech has also improved, keeping people alive that would have died and therefore been a murder charge.
Damn
So,
statistics.
yeah, statistics are a motherfucker. You can make them kind of do whatever you want if
I'm
you're
a,
smart enough.
I'm a statistician.
Yeah, I'm a machinist and I figured it out, so it can't be that hard to manipulate.
Anyway, Tremors. Tremors is
Mhm.
just here because, like, Burt Gummer is what most of us are today. We're that crazy prepper guy
Wanted
with
to
way,
be.
way too many friggin' guns and way too much ammo. And then 5 seconds after the giant worms start eating people, we all of a sudden look like geniuses because all of a sudden we're the only ones who know how to deal with the problem.
Well, it's a mindset thing, you know. If people walk around all day and they don't ever consider what to do in an emergency, when one of them happens, if you've never run it even in just your wetware, if you've never run it even just through your head of what would you do in this situation, much like a fire drill, much like training for any first aid response, your brain isn't going to have any idea of where to begin. And if you
Mhm.
have that basic idea of where to begin, that sets you way ahead of the majority of people.
What is that I keep hearing? Is that everyone's hears about fight or flight, but they don't take
Mm-hmm.
into account there's 3 F's. There's
Mm-hmm.
fight, flee, or freeze.
Yep. Freezing's the
Freeze
worst thing you can do.
freeze is what happens when you have not properly prepared for the emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And your brain just kind of,
Or
grinds
you
to a
have
halt and locks
no
up.
or you have no like even tangentially applicable training.
Yeah, but that's what I call not prepared for the emergency.
Yeah.
Just slight sidebar. Like when I was in martial arts a very,
Mm-hmm.
very long time ago, many, many pounds ago. But one of the things my instructor used to constantly beat on us was he said, he had this theory that he was going to train us in addition to everything else we were learning. He was going to train us to immediately react to the 4 most common strikes. So we were
Sure.
reacting to a straight and a cross and a
Yep.
front kick and a round kick.
Okay.
And
That's fair.
those are the 4 most common vectors. Either kick's going to come straight up the front or from the side, punch is going to come straight up the front or from the side. And his point was, I want you to decide how you are going to react to that threat. And then you are going to train that one thing over and over and over and over and over. So that when someone throws a jab at you, you react.
Yep.
And then after you've reacted, then you can start thinking about what am I going to do next? But his
Mm-hmm.
point was the speed of reaction beats the speed of thought. So
Every time.
if your brain has to perceive the attack, decide what to do, and then react, there's one step in the middle that's going to slow you down, as opposed to if we can skip the thinking part, go straight from see the attack coming and react to it as a force of instinct, you're faster that way.
Yep.
So I attribute that to this. If you spend time kind of wargaming different emergencies and thinking about them and training for them and speaking, like if you run that through your wetware enough times, then when the thing happens, you've already laid out a plan and you just execute. You just move. You can think while you're moving, but you can't. It is much slower to try to figure that problem out in real time.
Mm-hmm. It is. It absolutely is. It's the same problem you run into with like I think it's the Tooler drill, guy with a knife at 21 feet. If you go into the situation knowing that you're about to be charged, you know what your reaction is going to be when you're doing that training in your concealed carry class or wherever you're at. But when you're in the grocery store, you're thinking about what you need on your grocery list.
Mm-hmm.
So your brain is not in the fight mode already, like it is when you're in class.
And unfortunately, when you're the victim of violence, your opponent's brain was already in the mode of violence.
Mm-hmm. They have an edge.
That's the thing I constantly tell people is I'm like, you don't get to decide. You don't get to elect. I would not like to be involved in this fight today. The decisions.
There are some you get to do that though. There are some fights you can go, I'm picking no.
But you still have to react to it.
You do.
That's what I'm saying is that you are not making an election to be involved in this confrontation. You have been involved in it. Now you have to figure out how to deal with it. Absolutely. And deal with it can mean dealing with the problem. It can mean de-escalating. It can mean walking away. But my point is that no one called you at 8 o'clock in the morning and be like, Mr. Emricson, would you mind getting into a fist fight in your local grocery store this afternoon about 4:34 p.m.?
God, that hasn't happened since middle school.
Yeah. So that's what I mean by you don't get this is a compulsory choice. You have to deal with the problem being laid before you. No one gave you the option like ahead of time, like, would you like to be involved in a violent altercation or not? Mm-hmm. So as a result, we people who don't like to be the victim of violence have to be prepared to deal with violence constantly.
Yep.
Now, Dawn of the Dead.
This one's a good one.
I had to actually ask you, I'm like, 2004 version or 1978 version? And you weren't aware that there was a 1978 version.
To be fair, that came out 3 years before I was born.
Wait,
I will watch it eventually. 78, not 87. Sorry.
I was about to say you're younger than I am, bud.
Heard that one backwards. 78, yeah, well before I was born. Considerably before I was born.
Wait a damn second. You were born in what year?
90.
Holy Jesus Christ.
I told you, dude. I'm only like 35. I had to think about what year it was for a second there.
Thanks for making me feel old. Please continue.
You're welcome. I will continue to make you feel old. So, Dawn of the Dead, your classic zombie flick, one of the classic zombie flicks. Disturbed even got a nice little spotlight in it with the Down with the Sickness scene. But there's some interesting little tidbits in this movie that, when you look at it from a prepper perspective, are interesting. Phil, do you remember the gun shop owner from across the street from the mall?
I'm moderately ashamed to say I've never watched this, but then again, I'm not a huge zombie film fan.
All right. I would like you to, at the very least, watch a couple of the scenes, grab them on YouTube or something, of the gun store owner from across the street. I can't remember what the name of the gun store was, but essentially what's going on is the...
Thanks, Raggle.
That's true. So the people in the mall are up on the roof. They're bored. They're painting the Help Alive inside in Home Depot paint on the top of the wall, on the top of the gravel roof. And they notice that there is a guy across the street in the gun store on his roof with a rifle. And they start a little bit of communication with him through holding up signs and looking at things through binoculars, right? Well, this guy, you watch him go from a pretty skinny, kind of fit guy to an almost emaciated guy over the midterm course of the movie. And the reason for that is he's got water, but he has no food in his gun store apartment, or almost no food in his gun store apartment.
Mm.
And do you know what leads to his death, Phil? I know you said you probably haven't seen the movie.
I'm going to guess he winds up going outside shopping for supplies.
The people across the street send a dog with food and water over to him, and he opens up the door enough to let the dog in. And the zombies follow the dog and get in and bite him. And that leads to a series of events where a fair number of the people get injured and or killed because they have to then rush their plans to try and save one of the women in the group who went off after the dog. No, to be fair, it was her dog, if I remember correctly, and she was very attached to this dog.
Was this a useful dog or a purse dog?
It was like a border collie that they had trained to do a variety of things.
Damn it!
Why
couldn't it be like a Chihuahua or a friggin' Yorkie or something that I would have just said like slam the door behind both of them, assalamu alaikum, have fun.
It was a smart enough dog that they were able to load it up with a backpack of supplies, and the guy was able to call it from across the street through a crowd of zombies, and it was able to get to him.
Okay,
so useful dog.
Okay, I might John Wick 100 zombies to go after that kind of dog, but if it was like my neighbor's aggravating friggin' Chihuahua or a toy poodle, I don't know if I would. But anyway,
I get that. But look, we're all emotionally attached to our pets. I am extremely emotionally attached to my pets. I know you are too.
I'm attached to my cat, even though she's far too lazy and stubborn to bring a backpack of supplies to anybody.
Sure, but as an emotional comfort to you, as a morale boost to you, having that cat around is probably pretty important in a time of stress, right?
I suppose.
I mean, having my dog around is. Even though my dog that I have now kind of just ignores me most of the time, unless I have cheese. It's a very cheese motivated dog.
Aren't all dogs cheese motivated, though?
I have yet to meet a dog that is not cheese motivated. So maybe that's a common thread, but this one is primarily cheese motivated. But this movie, for those of you that haven't seen it, a group of people get stuck in a shopping mall. And some people come into the shopping mall after the guards of the mall have been locked in there for a couple of days or a day or so. And the people are living off the supplies in the mall. But that has a timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And they are preparing to leave the mall when the guy across the street signals to them that he is starving, he is dying of thirst, and he is in desperate need of supplies. So they have to do a supply drop for him across zombies, or in this case, across, let's just call it a dangerous territory, to bring supplies to a resource for them, which is this very good marksman and guy that has all of these guns and ammo that would help them out quite a lot for them to maintain contact with. And that causes several members of their group to die in the attempt to rescue the girl that went to rescue the dog. So I think it's an interesting illustration of, okay, the gun store owner, he had all the guns in the world to hold out with. He had heaps and heaps of ammunition to hold out with.
But he had one-dimensional preps.
Exactly. And that's a great thing that you can take from some of these zombie movies is the dimensionality that you need to have to your preps.
Kind of the polar opposite of Burt Gummer, who had more guns than the National Guard unit, but he also had food and water and radios, and
especially once you get into the later movies where he's got his bunker.
Yeah, I mean, I really centered on Tremors 1 because like Tremors 1 is by far the best. I don't think anybody will fight me on that. But yes, I mean it turns from Tremors into the Burt Gummer show, which
it kind of does, which is great.
I'm not upset about that because like it kind of always was the Burt Gummer show.
Yeah,
I mean it's basically just Burt Gummer saving a bunch of idiot townies from themselves.
Well, and Kevin Bacon. I mean that hair,
like idiot. No, Kevin Bacon. I'm counting among the idiot townies.
He is, but the hair. You had to save the hair.
He could have gotten eaten by a worm, and we just had 4 more movies with Burt Gummer, and I'd have been perfectly okay. But anyway, I mean, I think one-dimensional preps is something that a lot of people can like. Well, I'm looking for a word here. Identify with, because I feel like most of us that have been in the preparedness game for a long time probably started out very one-dimensional, probably really hyper-focused on guns and ammo.
It is a very easy and fun way to get into it because the gratification is immediate. Guns are sweet. They're a pretty cool mechanical tool, and they're basically fireworks that you can hold on to. So,
and the other thing of it is that not only is it very easy gratification, but like most of the stuff in preparedness is like it's nerd shit. It's like, oh, I have food and water, and I have solar
Slow
panels, and
burn. It doesn't look cool on Instagram.
it really doesn't. But I mean, I think that's a more useful thing. But the other problem is like, everyone in the preparedness community has had to fight against that old friggin' stigma or the old stereotype of the prepper. And what is it? It's the fat guy with, all the guns and ammo and doesn't have, and like a box of MREs in the corner and no friggin', no other supplies, no medical equipment, no sustainability,
His
nothing.
body's thrashed to shit from diabetes and being 200 pounds overweight. No, think about the guy from Doomsday Preppers that was riding around on the e-scooter. Like, oh yeah, great. He had a bunch of 55-gallon buckets of wheat. What's a diabetic going to do with 55-gallon drums of wheat?
Yeah, I will say that like I've met several much more seasoned preppers. Let's not use the word old. It's ugly to some people. But anyway.
Hey man, some people get started earlier than the rest of us.
Yeah.
In age-wise or timeline-wise.
But I know several of them that are very frank about the fact that like all the preps I have, they're going to be used. It's going to be used for like my kids and my neighbors because I'm not going to make it that much further.
Absolutely.
Like they at least have like kind of a succession plan of like I am 70 years old. I have 50 years of supplies. This is not for me.
A buddy of mine that I used to shoot with a lot. He is a Vietnam vet he's had cancer multiple times. He's got a lot of health problems. He has a ton of supplies, but he also has 2 or 3 generations worth of descendants that he is bringing up in the preparedness lifestyle.
Jeff said, had to change tools for the new guy when you started Tremor. Start over. No.
We don't start over for Stuart. We're not going to start over for you.
We're not starting over. This is too organic. You'll just have to hit the rewind button on YouTube or Facebook and watch it later, or Rumble.
Or teach the new guy how to set tools.
That is the best practice right there. Teach the new guy how to do stuff so you can pay attention to the 2 of us nerds.
That's true. Also, everybody needs a good quality learning apprentice. Nothing teaches you your trade better than teaching somebody new.
So, is there anything else in Dawn of the Dead to expound upon, to tease out, to pull out?
So there's an interesting scene in it that kind of emphasizes that fight, flight, or freeze. One of the first scenes in the movie. One of the main characters, the nurse, she's kind of the little bit bloody one in the green on the left in the bottom right-hand picture next to the cop. She's in bed with her husband, and someone walks into their house. And they wake up to a young girl covered in blood in their house.
As you do.
Which, God, I hope none of you have to do, because that would be terrifying. Her first response is, oh my God, this is a medical emergency. I need to do first aid, which she tries to do. And her husband attempts to help with. And that gets him killed. The little girl like rips his throat out. Horrible bloody scene, blood everywhere. Pretty excellently well done practical effects. She does not harm the girl, just kind of like throws her off of him, out of the room, shuts the door, and attempts to now do first aid on her husband, which of course, ripped out jugular. There's not much you're going to do for that in a home environment. He dies and becomes a zombie. Okay. Her training kicked her into, okay, it's medical time. She does not register that this girl is one of the undead because this is a new thing.
At the risk of sounding really, really dark, bearing in mind that like I deployed to a place where 8-year-olds are commonly combatants, my training would immediately kick into this.
What the hell is this 8-year-old doing in the house?
Honestly. And I know there's at least one other GWAT vet in this chat. There might be a couple, but like for any of you who deployed to Afghanistan or Iraq, like, and have dealt with child combatants, I hate to say it this way because it sounds awful, but it just is the way it is. But like some of us have been in conflicts where we are spring loaded to the idea that if you are taller than the AK, you're capable of being an assailant.
Oh, you absolutely are.
So,
Firearms make children a deadly threat.
So I don't know that I would immediately be like, oh my God, you need first aid. I think my first reaction would be, what the hell are you doing in my house?
Right, but this is the difference between a nurse
And how
who
they get
this is
past-
her next door neighbor.
And didn't they lock their doors?
That's a good question. We don't know.
I mean,
the movie sets it up as like the ideal kind of like suburban neighborhood.
oh geez,
This
it's
lady
like you live
even-
next to Wally and you live next to
Yes.
Mrs. Cleaver, and no one locks their doors, and
When-
kids ride their bikes up and down the street.
Okay, when
3
the
o'clock
nurse
in
is
the
coming home
afternoon.
from work, right before this scene, she stops and talks to the girl who's rollerblading and showing off her rollerblading, and there are other kids riding the bikes in the neighborhood around the cul-de-sac. Okay, so it's set up to be a nice, don't have to lock your doors, nice neighborhood, everybody knows everybody. So, you know, I would imagine it's implied that they don't lock their doors.
Please let the record show that my doors stay locked, even if, like, my doors stay unlocked if I'm going as far as the mailbox. Any further than that, and I'm locking the doors.
That's smart.
And if an 8-year-old shows up in the middle of
Bedroom?
my house, if an 8-year-old shows up in my bedroom in the middle of the night, somebody's getting kicked in the chest.
We can deal with the consequences later. A bloody 8-year-old in the middle of your house is usually not a good thing.
No. That's going to elicit a very strong reaction from me.
One way or another. But, you know, it's like Uncle Randy says. What's your zombie? In this case, it's actual zombies that were
literal zombies.
You know, in a different case, it could be, you know, your neighbor down the way is 85 and there's a blizzard going on. And you know that they probably don't have supplies or a generator or whatever. So you have to find a safe way to go check on them if you want to. Otherwise, you could have a cascading effect of people going to save the people that went to try to save the people, causing more and more problems.
No, that's all very fair. And last but not least,
love that movie,
Red Dawn. And I got a personal kudos from Nick for choosing the correct Red Dawn.
It is the correct Red Dawn.
To which I replied, no, I chose the only Red Dawn, because I'm not mad at anyone in Hollywood or that was involved in the remake of this, but there is only one Red Dawn, and Patrick Swayze was in it. And if you disagree,
point of order,
I'm not mad at you, but you're wrong.
Point of order, I am mad at Hollywood for choosing North Korea of all goddamn places as the adversary in the new version of Red Dawn, because, my God,
but
North Korea can't feed its own soldiers enough to get them into South Korea, let alone the U.S.
But didn't we have this conversation, Nick?
Oh, we did. And that's the other reason I'm mad at them for cucking to China.
Hollywood's masters, the CCP, had to be appeased. They could not couldn't make a movie about sticking it to China.
Oh, they absolutely could have, and it would have sold just as well.
It would have, but
just
then
not in China.
Our Congress people would not have been able to get honeypotted by hot Chinese spies anymore. So there's that.
Look, the Chinese spies weren't that hot anyway. I've seen them.
I mean,
I've seen the pictures. They're not that good.
They must be very flexible then, because there's something that keeps our intelligence assets and our Congress people attracted to them.
I mean, have you seen a lot of our Congress people?
You mean the ones that look like they died 4 hours ago and we're just keeping them alive with fluids, or the ones who look like?
I'm just saying their standards are not that high.
I guess that's what happens when you don't get your what's it called?
Prune juice in the morning.
Oh no, I was thinking the conspiracy theorist, the stuff that's made from like the blood of newborns.
Adrenochrome.
When they don't get their adrenochrome, they start falling apart pretty quickly.
They do.
I'm pretty sure that's why Nancy Pelosi is going down somehow like a ship in a bad storm.
They cut off her adrenochrome?
I mean,
I would have thought it was just because she was elderly and, you know, there's only so much stem cells and young blood of gym goers can do for you.
Young blood of gym goers.
Oh, yeah. Have you not heard about that? Like, politicians and the ultra wealthy have been harvesting blood from healthy young individuals to give themselves transfusions to boost their immune system and their recovery times. Because their blood is generally better. That's not like a conspiracy theory either. That's a known practice. They hire people to live healthy to get blood transfusions from.
There's a joke there. I'm just not quite at the point of making it yet.
Oh, look, it's faster than going to the gym yourself.
I was gonna make the illusion that our Congress people were blood sucking ticks, because you kind of just like laid it up for me, just
literally.
Like
Look, man, the vampire jokes write themselves
sometimes. But anyway, the correct Red Dawn with Patrick Swayze.
The correctest Red Dawn. So, anybody that hasn't seen this movie, shame on you. Go watch it tomorrow. Irritate your spouse. I believe it is the CCP in partnership with the Soviet Union invading the continental U.S. or Russia invading the continental U.S. with a massive paratrooper strike.
It was still Soviet Union at this time, wasn't it?
I don't remember the date that the movie's supposed to take place in.
I'll Google.
So essentially what happens is there's a massive paratrooper drop unopposed over the continental U.S. in between the Rocky Mountains and the Smokies. Basically, the entirety of the Midwest gets seized.
1984.
1984?
Still Soviet Union.
Still Soviet Union. Okay, so Soviet Union plus CCP. Essentially, they used Chinese foot soldiers to boost the numbers of the Russian troops and take over the central U.S. Group of high school kids who have some wilderness experience, have some hunting and fishing experience.
Point of order, it wasn't the Chinese.
Wasn't?
Soviets, Cubans, and Nicaraguans.
Oh, Cubans and Nicaraguans. You're right.
Which, to be fair, we're socialist, we're communist satellite states.
They were, and the Cubans are closer than the Chinese, but still, the Cubans was an odd choice. They should have chose the Chinese even back then, because Cuba does not have that many people.
But in '84, I think the difference was that
the missile crisis.
Well, we're going to go off topic slightly, but I think the difference is that in '84, the Chinese were still much more isolationist. Like,
could have been.
Okay, so 1984, I was 2 years old, but like I'm older than you are, and a lot of the audiences that tonight. So like, give it to me for a second. But like in 1984, the Chinese were still much more isolationist. I mean, they were very much provide for and aid, but they were not put boots on the ground at that time. So they were much more like trying to wield influence and build up their economy and build up their war machine and, you know, like fight the information war, versus the Soviets, who were like literally sending advisors in air quotes to Cuba and North Vietnam and places like that. I think the Chinese actually sent some pilots to North Korea.
The Chinese also sent wave after wave of their own men into North and South Korea.
Yeah, but I think Nicaragua and Cuba was probably like a sign of the time, because I know that
Raggle.
Well, I know that in the early '80s, like we were much more concerned about Cuba than we were China.
Jeff brings up a good point. Was Kissinger trying to separate the USSR and China at the time? He was trying to open up China to Western money and influence, which, great job, Kissinger. Really appreciate that, you bastard.
Yeah.
Should have let China collapse under its own weight instead of bringing them into the Western sphere.
Oh, I just got through all the comments that led to the Jesus Nick LOL. So now we must talk about it. Someone out there voted for Kamala Harris, and they're going to be really upset. And
like 3 whole people, dude. She didn't even get a delegate.
Anyway, remember, Harris was a prize piece. That's how she got her sport. That's how low the standards are. And then here's my co-host. I've seen better prize picks in a Lowe's parking lot at 3 a.m. I don't even
Love's parking lot. It's a truck stop, by the way.
I don't even know if I want to ask what you were doing in a Love's parking lot at 3 a.m.
Waiting out a potential wildfire destroying our Airbnb.
Oh, that.
I don't know if any of my in-laws or my wife noticed in that parking lot, but there was be some lot lizards plying their trade there over to the north.
great Googling
for all the
move,
semi trucks there.
huh? Truckers need love too, I guess.
Hey, you know what? Got to make money. I don't fault them, but I also don't participate because, ooh, that was rough.
If I'm
That
gonna
was
pay,
that was rough looking.
if I'm gonna pay a woman for sex, I just assume give my wife my bank account, which is pretty much what happens anyway.
Right? I mean,
I'm just saying.
Jesus.
Anyway, Red Dawn, Patrick Swayze. So now that we have firmly gone off the rails twice, the freaking
Look,
Soviets
there
and
are
the Cubans,
sidetracks on the rails.
the Cubans and the Nicaraguans and the Soviets show up, and hood rat shit ensues.
It does. The main character's father gets killed fairly early on in the film, and this instigates them to form the Wolverines.
Yeah, so troops paratroop in, take over the town, cut off communication, box everybody up into. Actually, they didn't stick everybody in concentration camps. From what I recall, and it's been a while since I've watched the original Red Dawn, but like I think a lot of people were pretty much just left to do their thing in town as long as they didn't color outside the lines.
So the reason that the main character's father was grabbed right away is because I believe he was on the police force. They grabbed the local government, they grabbed the police force, they grabbed EMS and fire, and they specifically grabbed anybody that they knew of that had military experience.
Anybody that could mount a resistance
Anybody likely to be able to lead or build a resistance
or facilitate a resistance.
Yeah. So
no, I mean, makes perfect complete sense, and it also makes complete sense that they would leave the majority of the townspeople because, like, you know, one of the dirty little secrets of being an occupying force is that it takes people to occupy an area, and the more control you have to exert, the more people it requires. And by allowing a population to kind of like, you go over there and manage yourself as long as you don't do dumb stuff, that population doesn't require as many people to maintain a presence versus a prison camp where you need X amount of population for X amount of prisoners. Otherwise, things get out of control very quickly.
Phil, do you know what the per capita rate of police officers is in the U.S. generally?
I knew it one. No, okay. We have to agree to terms. Are we talking about local cops, state, fed,
full-time law enforcement officers per 1,000 residents?
Again, we're talking about like local, state, fed, everybody in
All of
the
them,
bucket.
full-time. Anybody that's full-time law enforcement.
I want to say at one point it was something like one cop for every 3,000 people or something like that.
It is between 1.6 and 2.8 officers per 1,000 people.
Okay.
Depending on the region. So like Western US, Arizona, New Mexico, a lot of empty land, lower density of police. Northeast, highest density, like 2.8 cops per 1,000. So to have the police presence that the US has now, which is what most of our viewership is used to seeing,
which by the way is a high trust society, which doesn't require
an extremely high trust society generally in the US.
But that skews the requirement for how much law enforcement you need.
Between let's use round numbers here, about 2 officers per 1,000 people. So 30,000 people in your town, 30 police officers, roundabout. Well, actually, there's a guy that comments says there's a cop under every rock in the Northeast. It feels that way because there are almost 3 per 1,000. So between 30 and 60 law enforcement officers for a small town.
Also goes without saying that like they're usually concentrated in high crime areas. So like if you go in that area where they're concentrated, there's going to be one under every rock.
Yeah, because that's where they're needed more. So an occupying force in a hostile country is going to need a higher rate than that. And that's going to really, it's going to really tie up your manpower.
And when you consider the fact that like this whole event is predicated around a group being paratrooped into the U.S., I don't know how many of y'all surrounded. Well, but I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with this, but like you can't pair it. It takes some serious manpower to paratroop any sizable force, and it kind of limits the number of people because, like, an
And the
aircraft
types
can
of
only hold,
equipment.
yeah, an aircraft can only hold so much weight. So
Mhm.
you don't just need the person, you need the person, you need their gear, you need their weapon, you need their ammo, you need their food, their water, you need tents for them to sleep in, you need sustainment gear. So an aircraft can only hold X number of people and all their crap, and you can only get so many aircraft into an airspace before somebody starts to take notice. It just there's a reason why like 101st Airborne or 82nd Airborne that our country uses as our primary paratrooper forces, like they're a small, high impact unit. You drop them in, they do hood rat shit.
Yep.
But they're not an occupying force because,
Oh
or if
God,
they're an
no.
occupying force, they occupy like an airfield until you
Yeah.
can land more aircraft in and get more, do a troop buildup. But
Mhm.
they're not like okay, we're going to drop you here and you're just going to hold this tri-state area for a period of time, set prison camp. It takes too many people to do
Mhm.
that. It doesn't. The numbers don't. The math doesn't math.
No, I mean, look at one of the most famous airdrops ever, D-Day. The whole point of the paratroopers was, great, you guys are going to hold this bridge. This unit's going to hold this bridge. This unit's going to blow up this railway line. That's your job. Your job is to make it so more enemy units can't get to the fight, and we're going to try to get to you before all of you die.
Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, like look back to World War II with like the Battle of the Bulge
Mm-hmm.
and some of those big paratrooper campaigns.
Oh yeah. You know, the interesting thing of I think the Red Dawn scenario is that realistic in the US? Personally, I don't think it is. I don't know that there is a country on the planet with force projection enough to actually get paratroopers over central US.
Okay, so the way that this is laid out, no, this is very, very fantastical.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think along the southern border, there is ample opportunity for a cartel
To do something similar.
to do something very similar because
Yeah.
the cartels along the southern border, especially some of the better funded, better equipped cartels down there, they can absolutely project force
Oh, absolutely.
dozens or hundreds of miles inland.
Some of them are projecting force as far as New York and Chicago.
Well, okay, but it's a difference in how you say project force because if you're talking about like organized crime that's operating kind of as a satellite but reporting to the home base,
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing. I'm
Yeah.
talking about I'm talking about like the Juarez cartel
Oh, you're
saying
talking like seizing territory.
I'm talking about like, hey, you 50 guys with trucks and guns and people and everything else, you go over the border and go take that town. I think they
Could be
could
done
absolutely do that. And I think if
for a
they did
short
it
term.
quick enough and cut communication to the outside world, they could probably hold it for a period of time too.
Cut communications to the outside world would be the hard part.
In the days of like smartphones and everything else, yes, that'd be very difficult. You would have to arrest cell towers. You'd have to arrest landlines. You would almost have to have people embedded into the town to cut communications before the main force comes in. But here's the
Yeah.
problem. In this day and age, people with that tech ability and that knowledge are available to the highest bidder.
They are.
So,
And it's not like that infrastructure is hidden by any means.
oh God, no. Most of it's behind a chain link fence, if that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, then that's just the only reason I bring this up. Do I think this could happen like this? No. Do I think it could happen along the southern border? Probably. Do I think it could happen along the Canadian border? Frankly, yeah.
It's potentially possible. I mean, the Canadian border is less secured than the southern border.
Yeah.
I mean, it's largely vast tracts of unoccupied forest.
I think the real problem you would run into is with in the communication age, you would have multiple layers of communications you would have to arrest simultaneously so that no one could get a message out. But I think that's
especially
probably doable.
with satellite internet now and Starlink and the satellite communications of iPhones. Now you have to jam satellite communications.
Do you want me to tell you that's a lot easier than you think it is?
Oh, no, I realize that's easy, but you now have an additional layer that's not physical infrastructure on the ground, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is I think it's more plausible from the northern and southern borders than it is from people paratrooping in. But
Oh, absolutely.
regardless, you could have a homegrown gang
Oh yeah.
just import a bunch of hired
Well,
muscle,
we've
kick all
already
the
seen
cops'
this
asses,
with the George Floyd autonomous zones.
Chaz, chop.
Mm-hmm. We've already seen these exact sort of situations happen in the U.S. I mean, what was it? What country were they from? The street gangs that were seizing apartment complexes in Portland and a few other places.
Oh,
The Somalian gangs, I think it was,
yes.
that were seizing apartment complexes in a major U.S. city.
Yeah. And the truth of the matter is that if the police are not willing to like go put foot to butt, the average citizen is just not in an emotional, mental headspace to do anything about it.
True. And
I
and
mean,
in a lot of these major cities, let's be honest about the people that live there, largely liberal, less likely to be like you and I, Phil, and have spent many weekends and late nights training heavily with firearms in combatives.
yeah. And also, like, once you get to a point where you have like a higher proportion of renters versus homeowners, you also do very quickly get into just the mentality of like, this isn't mine. I rent to
Yeah.
stay. I rent the place. Like, who cares? It's not my
Worst
house.
case, I'll leave.
Yeah. Once you get a lack of ownership, especially like when you get, I mean, that's why like in every major metro area, Section 8 housing is just demolished almost immediately, because no matter how nice it is when it's handed to people, they don't own it, so they don't give a shit about it.
Jeff makes a great point here. Local government siding with the cartel in Chicago over deportation right now.
Very
They
fair
are.
point.
They are. So,
But to me, the utility of these movies is not to say like, look at this thing that happened in this movie. It's going to happen just like this, but it's kind of the parallels. It's the rhymes, you know.
it's what lesson can you take from it? I mean, look at the picture here, Phil, that you've got in the bottom center. These boys are starting with a bolt action rifle and a lever action carbine.
And
What do they
instead of
got in the top
binoculars.
picture? Yep. What do they got in the top picture? RPGs, AKs, and RPKs.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to borrow a page out of history, you know, let's talk about
The Liberator.
I was going to talk about the Warsaw Uprising, World War II. You know, like, and now
Perfect example.
that did end poorly because the Nazis
lot
and
of
the
them do.
SS did eventually, you know, burn the Warsaw Ghetto to the ground and then gas everyone down in the sewers. But it started with a very small uprising of people literally just walking up behind Polish cops and shanking them in the back and taking all their stuff. And then they'd get a pistol and be like, oh, now I got a pistol. And then you turn the pistol into a rifle and the rifle into a squirt gun and the squirt gun into some grenades and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
I mean, there's literally entire military units within the U.S. Special Forces that this is what they're trained to do, is like, I'm going to drop you into this country with a wad of $100 bills and a pocket knife and one change of underwear. And in 2 weeks, you're going to have, you know, $1 million in a briefcase and have built a city. That's what they do.
Yep. Rigel says armed members of Venezuelan gang Tren de Agua have been reported to occupy and exert control over multiple apartment complexes in several U.S. cities, including Aurora, Colorado, and San Antonio, Texas. So, looks like I was maybe incorrect. There might have also been the Somalians in Portland. But
I think y'all might be talking about two different.
Could be, but
groups.
Same basic principle. Same basic principle. A small group of violent, motivated, and armed individuals.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I see your point. I think that there's a lesson to be gleaned from the Wolverines in Red Dawn, just because, like, you know, this is kind of like the genesis of how resistant factions tend to come up. It's usually a small group. They're very ragtag, very minimal training, if any. They seek targets of opportunity. They use them to bolster their forces, to bring more people to their cause, and to accrue weaponry and equipment. And more importantly, like, some of the tactics I remember from this movie is like lots of hit and run, not a lot of stand our ground and fight. They did they did a lot of
as
ambushes.
A resistance. You always ambush and you always run.
Yeah, or you ambush where where things are so lopsided that like before the enemy can mount a defense, they're already wiped out.
Correct.
But I think that like that's not really so different than like the tactics that were used against us by the Viet Cong in Vietnam. It's not that different from the tactics used against us by the insurgencies in Afghanistan and Iraq. It's not that different than the tactics we used against the freaking British in the American Revolution. Like, this is a pretty standard playbook, and it works really well.
Well, it does. It's infinitely harder to defend than it is to attack when the attacker is not trying to seize territory. If the attacker is just trying to harm you or deny you resources, it's very easy to destroy things. Mm-hmm. It's much harder to prevent them from being destroyed.
And the other thing I just want to point out is, like, you know, this group is not, it's not the National Guard.
No.
It's not the cops. It's not the army. No one called 911 to get these boys to stand up and start putting foot to butt. This is what... Like, in the event of any kind of a serious breakdown of law and order in this country, whether it be temporary or permanent, this is what's going to be. Mm-hmm. You and your neighbors, or you and your idiot friends, or you and your gun buddies from that met at the range together, y'all going to have to pull your pants up a little bit and deal with the problems, because ain't nobody coming to save you.
Right.
Admittedly, this is a very extreme example of no one's coming to save you. But the point remains.
Well, look at what happened with the hurricane that hit the southern states earlier this year. Who came to help them first? The one that hit down by Eddie.
Oh,
I don't remember the name of that one. Helene. Look at Hurricane Helene. Who were the people that were there to help first? It wasn't the government. It wasn't the states. Locals. It was the neighbor with the mule. Or the neighbor with the UTV.
And then shortly after that, it was the guys who work construction, who had heavy equipment to unblock the roads and move the trees and start getting things restored where they could.
The guy with a couple dozers and a chainsaw.
Yeah. No, you brought up Ida. Ida was the one that smacked us.
Yeah, that's right. Ida was the one that hit you.
Back in 2021? I'll have to go back through my timeline and remind myself when Hurricane Ida was.
I don't remember.
Feels like forever ago, but it wasn't that far.
It wasn't that terrible long ago. I know that.
Yeah. But that's Prepper Movie Review.
Yep. They're good movies.
I think they're really good movies. I mean, so just to be fair, like, I'm assuming we're going to wind up doing this again, but like, my criteria is, first of all, it's got to be a good movie. Can't be a crappy one, because I'm not going to subject myself to that.
I think, Phil, you need to watch Sharknado.
Oh, Jesus
There
Christ,
are lessons to be learned from Sharknado, Phil.
Nick.
There are lessons to be learned.
Nick, Sharknado is not a movie. It's schlock.
Yes, it's perfect.
I hate schlock.
It's exactly what I wanted from a movie about sharks and tornadoes.
I'm a sci-fi nerd, not a schlock guy. You can't sigh about that. I don't like schlock. I'm a sci-fi guy. That's why my movies were Mad Max and The Road Warrior.
I was promised. Wait, have you seen Iron Sky?
Raggle agrees with me. Hell no.
Raggle, you're wrong, and you should feel bad. Nazis from the Moon. It was one of Kickstarter's original big successes. They promised steampunk Nazis with 1940s tech on the moon invade Earth. Again. It's amazingly bad. It's phenomenally terrible.
It's schlock.
No, it's a comedy. You got to look at it as a comedy.
Your smile tells me it's probably schlock.
It could be, but there's also sci-fi involved. They make a black guy into an albino Nazi. Schlock. Yes, they make a black guy into an albino Nazi.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
It's great. It's greatly terrible.
I think I'm going to stick to finishing off Hellsing.
Yeah,
my wife made the mistake of subscribing to Crunchyroll several months ago. Not realizing that she was married to a complete weeb. So I immediately filled my list up with, like, she was like, "Oh, I want to watch like Apothecary Diaries and this and this, and the new cutesy animes that everybody's watching." And I was like, "I'm watching every Gundam. I'm watching every Dragon Ball. I'm watching Hellsing. I'm watching Evangelion."
One Punch Man.
One Punch Man was never one of my shows.
What about what's Pirate Luffy one? Shit, One Piece. What about
I
One
was
Piece?
never a One Piece one.
Really,
either.
One Piece is great. My wife actually really liked the new live action One Piece.
I'm not even saying it's not great. Just it wasn't one of the ones that like snatched my attention.
Ah, that's all right.
Okay, so like bearing in mind that like my foundational moments in anime were Akira, Ghost in the Shell,
That's
and
fair.
then Neon Genesis Evangelion, and then like Gundam.
Mine was Hellsing.
Everything. Hellsing's great. I mean,
Hellsing's fantastic.
Have you seen Hellsing Ultimate?
Yeah.
I tried to explain it to my.
And then there's the YouTube version of Hellsing Ultimate OVA, where they make it even more campy and even more jokey.
Oh, I'll have to give that a look just out of curiosity.
Oh, dude, it is hilarious.
But anyway, my daughter happened to walk through the room in the middle of Hellsing Ultimate, and she was like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "I'm watching a vampire who is in league with the English Protestants, shank Nazi vampires."
Yes,
and that was enough. And she sat down and watched like 50 minutes with me.
So imagine the Nazis from that, except they're coming from the moon, and there's no vampires. That's Iron Sky. I'm just saying, man. The internet crowdfunded it, and it was everything I had wanted it to be. It was Nazis from the moon.
Okay, Raggle said not a big anime guy. Seen Dragon Ball Z and Gundam. I mean that's not
DBZ's a good start.
You have to add in Robotech. I almost forgot about Robotech.
Yeah,
Robotech Macross. Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge anime guy, but Robotech, DBZ, Hellsing.
Speed Racer.
You know, I've never watched Speed Racer. I probably should.
Bruh.
I know.
Okay, Speed Racer.
To be fair, when did it come out?
Old.
Yeah,
I know,
exactly.
I know. But listen, Speed Racer is legitimately like everything anime should ever be. It is campy, it is immature, it is hilarious, it is random, it has a great storyline, amazing character development, really cool cars.
Yeah.
I grew up wanting a Mach 5 badly.
I mean, look, if one showed up in my garage, I wouldn't be upset. Digimon and Pokemon absolutely count as anime because it is anime.
Not my generation though.
Yeah, but it's still anime. It is. It's absolutely the art style and some of the same creators.
The guy that comments anime would probably make me a weeb and make me move to Japan and corrupt it with my gun-toting culture. I mean, when you consider the fact that there's a lot of anime that is very much like gun culture adjacent.
Yes, but all of the gun-toting people are not Japanese.
Yes,
they're all Western foreigners.
Should we do a prepper movie review that's all anime
about Hellsing? Yes.
I was going to say about anime.
We could.
We might have to make that happen. But it's 9:10 p.m. We both have to wake up early in the morning.
4:30 comes the same time every day.
Yes. Earlier than the law should allow.
Yes.
But anyway, so to the audience, if you liked Prepper Movie Review, if this was fun and cheeky and you might have learned something or at least had a good time goofing off with us, then you should leave a comment and like. And if you haven't ever given a review to us, you can find a place to do that, and I will certainly appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And if you absolutely hated this, then you can blame Nick.
Yes, I can be blamed. I'm blamed regularly.
Well, but that's by your spouse, not by me.
Oh, I'm blamed by a lot of people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I'm one of the answer guys at work. So when I tell somebody to do something, they should probably blame me.
Excellent point. But yeah, we'll go ahead and punt this one out the door. And if anybody has any feedback, we're always open to it. And if not, then we'll see you in another week. And you'll just have to wait and see what we come up with.
Yeah, if you don't tell us we don't like it, we'll keep doing it.
Or we'll just keep doing something that entertains us.
Truth.
All right. Later, y'all.
Mm-hmm.